Hello students, today we will be studying the osteological features of the femur bone. Now femur is the longest and the strongest bone of the body. It's the bone of the thigh. It's a typical long bone having upper end, shaft and lower end. Now what are the features of the upper end? The upper end shows the head, the neck and two trochanters, the greater trochanter and the lesser trochanter. The head has an articular surface which is about 2/3 of the sphere and has got a pit or a fovea at the central point. The head is directed upwards, medially and backwards. The neck has got two surfaces, the anterior surface and the posterior surface, a superior border and an inferior border. The neck makes an angle with the shaft, and that's the neck shaft angle, which is 125 degrees in adult males and it is a little lesser in females. We then move on to see the greater trochanter. Greater trochanter has got a upper border having an apex. It has got an anterior surface, a lateral surface and a posterior surface which ends at the quadrate tubercle. The lesser trochanter has got an anterior and a posterior surface. The two trochanters are connected to each other by an intertrochanteric crest posteriorly, while anteriorly they are connected by the intertrochanteric line. These are the features of the upper end. Then we move on to study the shaft. The shaft of the femur in the middle 1/3 is triangular in section, showing three borders and three surfaces, while at the upper 1/3 and at the lower 1/3 it is having four surfaces not demarcated by clear-cut borders. In the middle 1/3, the three borders are the medial border, the lateral border and the sharpest posterior border, also called as the linea aspera. Thus, the three surfaces would be posteromedial surface, posterolateral surface and the anterior convex surface. When we trace the linea aspera inferiorly, it splits to form the two supracondylar ridges, the medial supracondylar ridge which ends at the adductor tubercle and the lateral supracondylar ridge. Between these two ridges is this triangular popliteal surface of the lower part of the femur. We then go on to see the features of the lower end. Lower end has got articular part and non-articular part. The non-articular part are seen as the medial epicondyle and the lateral epicondyle. Prominent features here are the medial and the lateral condyles. The medial condyle has got a medial surface showing the medial epicondyle. It has got a lateral surface which is a component of the intercondylar notch. It has an inferior surface which is articular and an anterior surface which is also articular, while the lateral condyle has got a lateral surface showing presence of the lateral epicondyle and below that is a groove. It has got a medial surface which is part of the intercondylar notch, an inferior surface which is articular, an anterior surface which is also patellar articular surface. Both condyles have got small posterior surfaces which are also articular. These are the features of the lower end. The articular parts of the lower end articulate with the condyles of the tibia inferiorly, and they articulate with the patella anteriorly. Keeping all these features in mind, let us now identify which side this femur belongs to. The head is superior, facing medially. The condyles are inferior. Head, as I said, facing medially, greater trochanter facing laterally. For anterior and posterior, anterior surface of the shaft is smooth, while the posterior surface shows the sharp border, that's the linea aspera, and that is what tells us that this femur belongs to the right side. How do we hold the femur in the normal anatomical position? By resting the two condyles on a horizontal surface. This is the way we show the normal anatomical position. Another way of showing it is by balancing the head on the index finger. This is how the femur lies in the normal anatomical position. Now let us go on to see the muscle attachments of the femur. The pit or the fovea on the head gives attachment to ligament of head of femur. Going on to the trochanters. The greater trochanter, the superior border, the apex gives attachment to piriformis, and just behind that we have attachments of the superior and the inferior gemelli and the obturator internus between the two gemelli. On the quadrate tubercle, we have attachment of quadratus femoris. The depression seen on the inner aspect of the apex is the obturator fossa. Obturator externus gets inserted in this fossa. Going to the surfaces of the greater trochanter, the anterior surface gives attachment to gluteus minimus, the lateral surface to gluteus medius, and the posterior surface going down to the gluteal tuberosity gives attachment to the gluteus maximus. The posterior surface of the lesser trochanter gives attachment to the iliopsoas muscle, and below that this area gives attachment to pectineus. Then we move on to see the attachments on the intertrochanteric line. The lateral part gives attachment to vastus lateralis, while the medial part gives attachment to vastus medialis. We now go on to the anterior surface. The anterior surface of the shaft gives attachment to vastus intermedius and lower down to a few fibers of articularis genu. We go on to see attachments of the posteromedial and the posterolateral surfaces. These two surfaces along with the linea aspera give attachment to 7 muscles from lateral to medial. These are vastus intermedius, vastus lateralis, short head of biceps femoris, adductor magnus, adductor brevis, adductor longus, and vastus medialis. I repeat, vastus intermedius, vastus lateralis, short head of biceps femoris, adductor magnus, adductor brevis, adductor longus, and vastus medialis. Then we go on to the two supracondylar ridges. The medial supracondylar ridge gives attachment to the medial head of gastrocnemius, while the lateral supracondylar ridge gives attachment to lateral head of gastrocnemius and just above it to plantaris. The groove seen just below the lateral epicondyle gives attachment to popliteus. We now go on to see the attachments on the intertrochanteric fossa. The medial surface of the lateral condyle gives attachment to the anterior cruciate ligament, while the lateral surface of the medial condyle gives attachment to the posterior cruciate ligament. Now we go on to see the joints formed by this bone. The upper end, the head of the femur, the articular surface forms the hip joint with the acetabulum of the hip bone, and that is a simple ball and socket type of synovial joint. While the lower end, the articular surfaces of the condyles form the knee joint along with the patella and the condyles of the tibia, and the knee joint is a compound, complex, bicondylar, modified hinge type of a synovial joint. Thus, we have seen the morphological features, side identification, how to hold the femur in normal anatomical position, the muscle and ligament attachments, and joints formed by the femur bone. Thank you.